Hi. I've been quiet for a while now, for fear of social retribution and some other things. And I'm aware that what I am going to say is going to harm my reputation and people's perception of me. But I just want to put it out there that this isn't, InfoWars or Alex Jones or any of that. This is just my thoughts. And these thoughts and concerns are coming from my perspective, which is my dad's family fled the Soviet Union. My grandfather was actually put in a gulag as a political enemy of the people. So gulag is not a figure of speech to me, and I am obliged to make use of the freedoms with which I am blessed in this country. And he who remains silent to preserve the peace starts a war within himself. So I'm going to use my voice while I still can. So, in the SparkNotes version of the words of Yuri Bezmenov, the 4 stages of Soviet ideological subversion are used to change a citizenry's perception of reality to the extent that people are unable to come to sensible conclusions to protect and serve themselves and their families. It is a slow mass brainwashing process. Ideological subversion, aka active measures, aka psychological warfare, is done in 4 stages. Stage 1 is demoralization. It takes at least 10 to 15 years to demoralize a nation. This requires educating 1 generation of students exposed to the ideology of Marxism. At least 3 generations of exposure to the ideology of Marxism is placed on the back of systemic demoralization. This is not morale, as in national happiness. This is cultural moral standards. This is eroding principles of constitutional liberty and patriotism in the case of the U.S. Stage 2 is destabilization. Destabilization of a nation takes 2 to 5 years. This moralization in terms of morale. The subverter destabilizes the economy. It may involve weakening foreign relations and defense systems. I think it's, in the West, it's to do with weakening borders. Stage 3 is crisis. It only takes up to 6 weeks to bring a country into the verge of crisis. After crisis, stage 4 is after crisis. There's a violent or shocking change of power and a restructuring of the economy, and then there's a period of normalization. In Soviet Orthodoxy, this was a military stage. When the army occupied and solidified Soviet control, that was considered, the situation was normalized. Excuse me. But I think that what we are calling the new normal is much more apropos and alarming in this context. So I will add on civil righteousness, the people who enforce state authority on people in their own community. For example, racist Karens and Karens calling police on neighbors for having a gathering at their own house during C-19. In the USSR and China, you are never an enemy of the state. You are called an enemy of the people. And the state never has to crash down your front door if your neighbors are keeping you in check for them. You have Americans now encouraged by elite establishment and the corporate elite media, willing to block a group of people from employment, polite society, and put their names and affiliations on actual lists for the crime of people having a different thought than that which the state authority and its media delegates as correct. Guilt by association is also concerning. There are people that have been fired or banned from platforms because their spouse or someone related to them did something the mob deemed wrong. I do not condone misinformation and fake news, but we have to be very careful about what the fact checkers can easily be used for in a technocratic, oligarchical, establishment-controlled, censored dystopia, okay? Truth and Reconciliation Councils should not be allowed to exist. For reference, please refer to re-education camps in China today. Lists of a group of the population that oppose this agenda and question the permitted narrative must not be allowed to exist. Excuse the reading, I just want to be clear. If you think your politicians fail to represent you now, just wait and see how disenfranchised you are in the borderless, cashless, energy and movement restricted globalized system where the oligarchs rule and control on all information you receive and are told to know, and your representative is completely unaccountable to you through CCP levels of corruption and state authority. This is the F word everyone has been crying about and accusing Orange Man of. I am describing fascism. If you add on the wealth distribution and soon to come property distribution and nationalized jobs and UBI, universal basic income, and high percentage of taxes, giving too high a share of your labor to this system, you're looking at just socialism, the end goal of which is communism. What that ultimately creates is a ruling class and an underclass, which is rendered dependent on the ruling class, a la UBI. Because people no longer earn back the capital value of their labor and there is no return on investment when individuals with capital create new products and jobs. And GDP eventually is lower than the value of the services being paid, and then it just financially crumbles the whole system. And let's remember that what the Communist Manifesto calls for is bloody revolution. That is why Lenin, Stalin, Mao, Kim, Pol Pot, Castro, and Che all committed mass killings. They were implementing the technical textbook communism properly. I'm not saying this is going to happen in the US. I'm saying we should not be evangelizing any of these people and lying about how cool they are because they are on t-shirts and stuff. I was a Bernie bro, as I said, and Bernie doesn't see a problem with like Castro and Che. I don't know. I want to mention that Kamala Harris is for equity in the sense that she is on tape supporting equality of outcome for all Americans. Equality of outcome for the sake, my thing froze. Equality of outcome regardless of effort, ability, and achievement is evil. And lastly, eroding your bodily autonomy with a mandatory vaccine for something the CDC itself says has 0.0 fatality rate is their complete control over your right to work and participate in society and move around, walk outside, and travel. Biden himself is largely a non-factor in everything, but understand what he drags in with him. The very oligarchs that Trump defies and pisses off, who in turn use the media that they own and use all of us to turn against each other and distrust each other. And Biden's campaign phrase "Build Back Better" is the brand phrase of the World Economic Forum, run by Klaus Schwab. Tell me, progressives, why you no longer care about money and politics and elections, Wall Street influence, wars and U.S. imperialism, war crimes, big pharma and big tech, and the surveillance state, and like the Occupy movement that started under Obama. Back in 2016, I was a progressive because they fought all of these issues. Now I realize that progressives are for more government and for collectivism over self-determination and responsibility, and are cheering on the establishment they hated just 4 years ago. And I want to mention the Green New Deal and the climate agenda. I love the environment and I'm for conservation. But Agenda 21 and UN Resolution 2030 say there must be net zero carbon emissions to save the planet by 2030. Or it spontaneously combusts, I guess. Please think about what this means and what that would require. Net zero carbon emissions. You exhale carbon. It is an evil agenda. So to end on a more bracing and positive note, I guess, People are fighting. We've got to fight. There's still time to stand up for liberty, individual liberty, and the right to self-determination. America will never fall without a good fight. And change can be painful, but change is the necessary progression of things. As an order of nature is cyclical. Birth, experience, death. Birth, experience, death. Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva. My family came to this bastion of freedom, and I am in the business of protecting freedom. Let's protect freedom of speech with Voltairean fervor, because a system does not care in which direction you defect, right, left, up, or down, but that you do. In my opinion, I fight for an individual's right to be wrong, because freedom requires responsibility and consequences for one's actions, which I fully accept for myself in posting this. And I just want to say hate has to be set aside. We have to come together and focus on love and respect. I could be wrong. I need to be humble. I hope I'm wrong. You know, it'd be great if I am wrong. But I just want to end with this: that authoritarianism always comes in the guise of being in your best interest. Okay? Love and peace, and God bless.